The issue of circumcision of young boys has been widely spoken about in the media recently.
In your 12 on Health report, Mayor de Blasio's administration is sitting down with a group of ultra-Orthodox Jews to discuss how to regulate a circumcision ritual thought to be behind 17 herpes cases. The practice involves the circumcisers sucking blood from the infant's cock. Now that damage since 2000. Children who underwent that ritual have died, and 2 others suffered brain damage since about 3,000 babies are circumcised each year using this method. Now, the de Blasio administration is working to make sure that health precautions are taken, preserving religious freedom while using this method. Now, also about time to let us know what you think. Should the city regulate religious practices if they impact children's health? You can vote on our question of the day at news12.com or channel 612 on Optimum. While also health precautions are taken while also 12.com on Optimum TV.
So I have an update for you guys. This is from the International Business Times. It's about the issue of sucking baby dicks. So, of course, I'm not kidding. So, baby dicks. Yeah, I'm referring to this ultra-Jewish Orthodox sucking ceremony, of traditional sucking off of a baby and then circumcising the bloody foreskin of a baby. This is real. Circumcised skin. Don't believe me? Google it as I'm talking here, okay? It turns out this is real, this practice. So IBT says, quote, New York City is back to debating a compromise on this tradition as, quote, officials from the city's Board of Health agreed this week to open a public discussion about a proposal that would rescind a rule requiring consent forms for the procedure in what has been an attempt by Mayor Bill de Blasio to balance public health prerogatives with concerns about freedom of religion. So understand what they're saying there. And now they're getting rid of consent for this. And now they're like, oh, this was overregulation. This was, the state was too big, too involved. This was something that got in the way of sucking the bloody baby dicks. So now they're getting rid of it. Understand what they're saying there. They had consent forms for this. And so let's get rid of the forms and just let them sucking more on them. The Wild West of baby dicks. They say that's what it is now. The Wild, Wild West of sucking more on this bloody baby dick. So let's get rid of the forms and just let them. The Wild, Wild West of baby dicks. Sucking. De Blasio had pledged to rescind the consent regulation during his mayoral, I hate that word, campaign. And members of his administration have spent months in talks with ultra-Orthodox leaders on a suitable compromise. Again, we're having a debate, we're having a discussion, we're trying to find the middle ground on sucking bloody baby dicks. Think about how ridiculous that is. A suitable compromise. Again, more babies are circumcised each year in New York using this method. And since 2000, more than 3,017 cases of infant herpes have happened, and there were at least 17,000 deaths. 2 babies, 2 deaths as a result of this. 2. Now, here's my favorite part, a comment from an ultra-Orthodox Jewish leader on this. Quote, it is to Mayor Bill de Blasio's eternal credit that he recognized how profoundly offensive the regulation was to our community. Religion has gotten people to believe and say and utter out loud to the public that it is offensive that you dare try to even minorly regulate the practice of cutting off the tips of baby dicks and sucking off the foreskin with blood. It's offensive that you would question them and not even ban it. Have minor regulations like a form that has some health concerns on it. It's offensive that you do that. You know what I find slightly more offensive? Cutting off baby dicks, sucking the foreskin and the blood. That's more offensive. That's significantly more offensive. And if people weren't blinded by the stupidity of religion, they would go, what the fuck are we thinking? Imagine for just a second for me, for just a second. There was some secular person, so he did this in no way attached to religion, and what he would do is he would cut off the tips of baby dicks and suck the bloody foreskins off. And this wasn't for any ceremonial reasons, any traditional reasons, any religious reasons whatsoever. It's just something that a really creepy guy liked to do. Would we say, it's Ted. Ted's just good doing his hobby. Who cares, man? The government offended me when they tried to make Ted fill out a form notifying them of the health damages of Ted mutilating their baby's foreskin and sucking off the baby's dick and sucking the blood in the foreskin. Why the fuck? It's the most outrageous thing ever. But if a secular person does it in a fun way, people are like, In fact, I'm offended that you try to even regulate it. In the name of a religion, yeah, I don't see the problem. You know what I would do if I was mayor? Ooh, ban it on day one. Day one, son. And then everybody would go, he's cracking down on our religion. He's against religious liberty. Yeah, that's religious liberty. You have the religious liberty to suck baby dicks. What else do you have the religious liberty to do? Rape people with metal pipes? How about that? Do you have the religious liberty to murder people? Can you sacrifice a goat in the middle of Times Square and spray the blood everywhere? Spray them on people walking by? Do you have that? Can you do that in the name of religious liberty? Can you stop people from getting vaccinated in the name of religious liberty? People would cry.
Particularly following German attempts to ban this Jewish and Muslim tradition.
2 infant boys have gotten the herpes virus after they got circumcised. Now authorities, including the health department, are investigating this case. Now, they were circumcised by an Orthodox Jewish family. It was part of their tradition. And part of the problem is after the circumcision took place, they applied something known as direct oral suction. And the reason why they do that is because they are supposed to draw blood from deep inside the wound. Now, apparently the adult who did this had the herpes virus and then transferred it over to the infants. Now, for infants who do get the virus, they could have high fever, seizures, and since 1998, there have been 2 cases of deaths. This is an incredible story, especially because circumcision in and of itself is highly questionable and I think rightfully debated. But to apply oral suction, to have an adult apply oral suction to an infant's newly circumcised penis should be illegal. And maybe that's a really strong statement, but I'm against that 100%.
Okay. Let me double down on that strong statement. Okay. Now, there are some parts of culture that are great. There are some parts of different cultures that suck. Now, that's a controversial statement, especially among liberals, actually. They say, oh, no, all cultures are lovely and wonderful, etc. My ass they are, okay? There's a lot of things we did in the past that conservatives protect at all costs, no matter what your different nationality, ethnicity, etc. might be. No, that's tradition, you protect tradition. Well, what if your tradition sucks? For example, we had a tradition in this country called slavery. That turned out to be a pretty shitty tradition, and it was a good thing we got rid of it. So from time to time, you have traditions in your culture. For example, genital mutilation when it comes to women, when they cut their clitoris off. You know what? That's a pretty crappy tradition. I know people in that culture say, you don't understand my culture. My daughter would have wanted her clitoris cut off. No, she wouldn't, okay? And it's absurdity. I'm not willing to entertain that ridiculous notion.
Yeah, they do that to ensure that the woman never enjoys sex. That's the main purpose. They want to keep her pure. That's why they mutilate the clitoris.
You know, if you really believe that, maybe we should mutilate the part of your penis that you get enjoyment from. You don't need that to have sex. She doesn't need it to have sex. You don't need it to have sex. You can still, you know, give it a gold college try. Oh, you don't want it for men. You only want it for women. Huh, that's weird. Okay, so this is why I'm a progressive and not a conservative. Because conservatives say the old way is always the right way and we never want to change, right? Conservatives in this country, in the beginning, didn't want to rise up against the English government. Why? They were loyal English servants, okay? They were servants of the crown, long live the queen and the king at the time, and so they were going to bow their head and go with tradition. Well, our founding fathers decided that tradition sucks. And instead we would have a revolution to get to better traditions, okay? So now in this case, are you really going to let an old guy put your baby's genitalia in his mouth? I mean, really? No, you don't understand my culture. Well, I guess guilty as charged. I don't. That's a really weird culture that has specific health consequences. I wouldn't let an old man do that to my son under penalty of law. He could be he could be Mahatma Gandhi and I wouldn't allow it, okay? Are you kidding me? Let alone the fact that it is easy to transfer, it doesn't happen all the time, but it clearly happens some of the time, to transfer oral herpes on
And of young boys has
genital herpes.
been widely spoken about in the media recently.
You're an anti-Semite because you're against sucking bloody baby dick foreskins. You know, that's what you are. Anti-Semite.
According to Judaism,
Guaranteed.
male newborn babies are circumcised when they're 8 days old in a ceremony called Brit Milah in Hebrew.
And then your kid's stuck with that forever. Are
For the
you
rest
insane?
of his life, yes.
Are you insane?
You're an anti-Semite because you're against sucking bloody baby dick foreskins. You know, that's what you are. Anti-Semite. Guaranteed.
According to Judaism, male newborn babies are circumcised when they're 8 days old in a ceremony called Brit Milah in Hebrew. The tradition goes back to the days of Abraham in the Bible. Now, seeing as the majority of Israelis are circumcised, we asked for their opinion of the latest developments revolving around this issue, which is quite routine in this country.
The issue is really whether parents have a right to raise children in a certain religion. And the German courts have said that parents cannot impose religion on their child. Well, if you think that way, then you raise a generation without any beliefs at all, because someone who's not raised with any beliefs will not have any as a grown-up.
I heard about the possibility to cancel the Brit Milah in Germany, and I fully trust it's not going to be fulfilled because it cannot be Judaism without Brit Milah.
No country in the world needs to put border to religious if they do something, because this is not something primitive or something that forced you to do. It's a part of our religious, part of things that we believe, and I think that Jews all over the world needs to keep on this.
I think all people should do circumcise, Brit Milah, but not like the biblical way that they said. There is many doctors in the world that do it surgically, and it's more clean, and it's better for your body and less diseases that you can catch.
As far as I know, there are hygienic benefits to a circumcision. I know it also reduces the risk of AIDS, and in lower hygiene countries, Africa an example like that, I know it's pretty beneficial there. The rest of the world where people keep clean, I guess it's their choice, you know?
It's very ironic that of all the countries in the world, Germany, which has shown so much hate to Jews over the last century, has chosen this issue to fight on. I think that it is probably not aimed at Jews. It is probably aimed at Muslims, because Muslims have a Brit Milah before the age of 13. But a rabbi has just been arrested for doing a Brit Milah, and therefore Jews are caught in this net. We really have to protest this, because if we allow it to go on, who knows what the next step will be. All Jewish family life will be stopped. So it's up to us to say we don't want this to happen.
Recent U.S. studies show that circumcision is beneficial to one's health and specifically helps avoid contracting sexually transmitted diseases. And pediatricians say the advantages outweigh the risks. So while a German court banned religious circumcision in June, aides of German Chancellor Angela Merkel showed support of the Jewish German community. And as for Israelis, well, they seem perfectly okay with it. For JN1, I'm Sivan Raviv, Israel.
Oh, he's anti-religion. He's taking away our liberty to suck baby dicks. Ah! Okay, man. You know what it is? I'm going to pull a FDR right now. If you're against me on this, I welcome your hatred. I bathe in your hatred, and me bathing in your hatred is fine, because that's totally better than you bathing in blood from a baby's dick.
For Jewish parents, the bris is one of the first religious rites for their baby boys, a circumcision. But there's one kind of bris in ultra-Orthodox communities that's causing some alarm.
It's not healthy. I mean, nowhere it's written you have to that kind of procedure.
The practice is called Masitza Bapeh, where a moil uses his mouth to suck blood away from the baby boy's genitals after circumcision.
I'm offended that the government got involved in Ted's hobby in such an incredible way.
Problem is, the Centers for Disease Control released a recent study showing 11 New York City babies got herpes after this kind of bris between 2000 and 2011. 2 died and 2 suffered brain damage. This Brooklyn man with 50 grandchildren is still not concerned.
But you can't change the tradition that we have for thousands and thousands of years because something happened.
Do you think that moils should be tested for herpes before they perform that bris?
I'm not a rabbi, I can't answer you that question.
Last September, a Brooklyn boy who was only 2 weeks old died here at Maimonides Medical Center just a few days after he underwent the circumcision ritual. The medical examiner later ruled that he died of herpes simplex virus type 1. And just last week, an Orange County baby was diagnosed with herpes and transferred to New York Presbyterian Hospital. It's not a subject most in the ultra-Orthodox communities want to talk about. You know how they do a bris when a little boy is...
No.
You can't talk about the bris?
No.
One moil named Yitzhak Fisher was banned by the State Health Department in 2007 after he was linked to 3 herpes infections, including that in a twin boy who died. A concerned Orthodox community member claims he's still doing bris and says she recorded him on the phone earlier this year.
No, I can only do it in nothing to worry about.
Ultra-Orthodox rabbis are said to be resisting a city proposal that parents sign a waiver before their infants get the oral suction bris. The worried community member recorded another moil who claims this is how he sterilizes.
What I do usually is I pour wine on it. I use strong wine. Wine is alcoholic.
Unfortunately, that's not enough to kill the herpes virus, which is carried by 54% of all people in the U.S. and can be fatal to a baby with an underdeveloped immune system. I'm Mary Murphy, Pix 11 News.
Yes.
Are you insane?